So lie on your backs, please. And today's lesson is called Long Free Back, where you get to discover your full height, the full length of your spine. And as you lie on the floor, just begin with your connection, with where you are right here, right now. How are you allowing yourself to receive support from the floor? How are you allowing gravity to gently hold you here? Are you resisting gravity in some way? Are you working to hold yourself up? What parts of your body easily drop and just rest into the floor? And where might you feel places that are held up a little bit, either because of your natural skeletal shape or because the muscles just aren't used to or familiar with just letting go? And if you were to really sense the length of your spine from the tip of your tailbone to the base of your head, just scan that a few times in your internal experience of yourself and really feel that length and feel the shape of it, the curve of your neck away from the floor, the precise point between your shoulder blades, maybe a little bit above them, where your upper back makes contact again with the floor at the base of the neck. The shape of the middle spine, the thoracic spine, as it rests into the floor. Noticing if the resting and support is any different from the left side to the right side of your trunk. And tracking that down and feeling your lower back arching away from the floor. And for some of you it'll be a higher arch, and for others it'll be lower. But just notice the space or the less pressure that your low back makes. Again, feeling that spot when it just begins to curve away. And again, the point on your sacrum, that part of your pelvis in the center that's rather triangular shaped, where the weight comes back in contact with the floor. And then following that image down to the tailbone, which curves a little forward again. And then I'm going to have you bend your knees up, and if you've done the frog legs before, you'll be familiar with just rolling your leg out to the side, dragging the outside of your foot up, letting your knee bend, and then bringing your knees up to the ceiling. And just try that a few times. Gently rolling one leg out to the side, letting your knee bend until the outer edge of your foot discovers the floor, continuing to bend your knee so your knee is out, and then rolling it up towards the ceiling. And you'll just feel how your hips roll in the sockets of your pelvis, up and down, and feel the changes, the different shapes that your lower back makes in relationship to the rest of your body and with the floor as you bend your knees up and lengthen them back down. And then next time you slide them up and bend them, just leave them up for a moment. And you may even feel the shape of your low back here with your knees bent. Is it closer to the floor or farther away from the floor than when they're long? So lengthen your legs one more time. Let your legs out long. Feel the shape of your low back now. Closer to the floor or farther away from the floor. And one last time, one at a time, bend your knees up, rolling them out to the side. Then bring your feet flat on the floor. And again, feel the shape of your lower back. And then gently bring your knees over your chest and hold on to them in the knee pits, so underneath the thighs, not near the kneecaps. Good. If this is difficult for you, you can get like a pillowcase and wrap the pillowcase around if it's hard to bring your knees that close to your chest. You can pause the CD for a moment and go get something. But so your right hand is under your right knee and your left hand is under your left knee. And just gently bring your knees towards your chest and lengthen them away, really feeling for the movement in your pelvis and the shape-shifting of your lower back. And you'll feel how as you gently draw your knees towards your chest, your back gets a little longer. And as you draw your knees away from your chest, lengthening your elbows and arms, the curve returns in your lower back. So do this several times, drawing them towards your chest and lengthening and just feeling the effect, not just on your pelvis, your low back, but how it translates up into your middle back. You might even feel some changes happening in your neck, in your head. And as you do this, notice how you're breathing. Are you clenching in your jaw, tightening your forehead? And then let your legs down again. And just pause for a moment with your knees bent. Feel yourself settling into the lesson, into the floor, into yourself. And then interlace your fingers, please. Great. And bring your hands behind your head so your hands are holding on to the lower part of your skull. And now a few times just try drawing your elbows towards each other and then lifting your head up a little bit and lowering it back down. Feeling the length of your spine from this top end. Each time you lift your head just as far as is easy and comfortable. Again, these lessons are not about stretching. They're not to get full range of motion. You want to just feel for the quality, the influence on your body. Try it a few times not bringing your elbows together, so keeping your elbows out wide. Can you notice the difference? If it's easier or harder to lift your head, keeping your elbows out to the side? Do you change your breathing in any way? And then a few more times, letting the elbows come together in one smooth and easy motion, lifting the head, lowering it a couple more times, feeling all the way down your spine, into your lower back, your pelvis, your hips. What changes are taking place? And then let your hands go. Lengthen your arms down to your sides and lengthen each of your legs. So a few simple movements to start and a rest. Not for your heart, not for your circulation, but a rest for your mind. As you learn to focus, Stay in your sensations. Stay in the quality of movement in this moment. This is not a usual experience in our everyday Western life. So the pauses that we take in our Feldenkrais lessons are really to give our brain a break. It's not used to listening to taking care of ourselves in this way. It's sort of used to running the show and pushing us and pushing us. And we have the opportunity to gradually start changing the show. So again, please bend your knees up. Interlace your fingers over your trunk. And then move your fingers one over so that you're interlaced non-habitually. And just feel that for a moment. You just slide your fingers one finger over and feel how that lands. Feel the stimulation in your brain to have that sensation. Shift back, your fingers back to the way you had first interlaced them. And feel how when you do that, that was your habitual way. That was what you chose, not really thinking that there might be another way. And it just fits like your old favorite slipper. And then mindfully shift again, one finger over, and just feel how that awakens your brain to begin to change the pattern of something as simple as interlacing your fingers. And then bring them behind your head again. And if you're able to, bring one leg at a time, your knees over your trunk so that your feet are just floating in the air. And try to be as relaxed as possible. This isn't an abdominal exercise, although many components of it may seem that way. So how relaxed can you be, just trying to let your knees drop over your chest? And then begin raising your head, your face, your right elbow, your left elbow towards your left knee. So raise and lower in many configurations. You might take your left elbow towards your left knee and settle back down. And then you might take your right elbow towards your left knee. How many different ways can you orientate your head and elbows towards your left knee, raising and lowering, and feeling what happens in your chest, your ribs. Can you do this and allow every movement to incorporate a full breath so that at no point in the raising of your head do you actually have to tighten and hold your breath? Can the movement be as light and easy as breathing? And if it's really challenging for you to hold your knees up over your chest, feel free to let them just stay on the floor, and you can continue doing this movement with your feet resting on the floor. If it's too much of an abdominal exercise or too much of a strain, we strain enough in our everyday life that we want to begin teaching the brain how pleasant, how easy, how light we can be in our bodies. And pause whenever you need to. Let your legs down. And go ahead and let your arms down. This is one of those lessons that my earliest Feldenkrais teacher said how funny it was to teach physical therapists, because we always would make sure we do every repetition until we were told to rest. And I always think I've made the greatest accomplishment in my overachieving students when they rest before I suggest that they might need to rest. Because that tells me that you're learning to listen to your inner voice, the one inside you that knows how to take care of you. and you're not performing the movements for me or some idea of how good and perfect you should be. Feel your breathing as you rest here, the movement in your trunk, and ribs, and abdomen, and the shape of your lower back. And again, please bend your knees up and draw them over your chest. Interlace your fingers, either habitually or non-habitually, and bring them behind your heads, please. And begin exploring, gently raising your head towards your right knee. And you might do the same thing, maybe just your forehead a few times to your right knee, feeling what presses down. How do you use the floor to lightly raise your elbows, your head, your face towards your right knee? And then how does that change even slightly if you make it, instead of your head, it's your right elbow to your right knee? And it might be even more apparent if you raise your left elbow to your right knee. Does your pelvis do anything to participate in making maybe it easier for one of your elbows to organize in the direction of your knee? Again, always feeling in the background for your breath, noticing when you've started really focusing and trying hard. That's often when we hold our breaths or clench our jaw or wrinkle our foreheads. And then let your arms down, put your feet down, but you can keep your knees bent this time. And just take a pause. And really listen during this pause. For some people, this kind of movement, which seems very much like sit-ups, can be an exercise. So check in with yourself. Are you exercising your abdomen? Are you feeling for quality? Are you staying within your limits? Are you stopping when you feel pain and finding another way, or making it easier, or visualizing? So much of our learning up until now has come from doing what the teacher tells us in spite of how it feels in our internal experience, feels in our movement. When real, true, authentic learning comes from really trusting what's happening inside of us, trusting and listening. So again, interlace your fingers the opposite way of whatever you did last time. Bring them behind your head, bring your knees over your chest. And very gently begin rolling just a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. Exploring what that's like. Feeling the floor sort of massage your back. And each time you go to the right, just go a little further, sort of knowing that eventually there's the potential of rolling onto your right side. So there's not a goal to roll to your right side, but there's just this exploration. You're on an expedition in your body to find your particular way of rolling to your right side. So you can also, you've got your knees going right and left, but you can also lift your head with your elbows if that makes it easier. very gently. And anytime you go to the right, you want to be able to come back onto your back with as much ease and grace. So there's a way to do this where you don't really have to lose control or lose balance or use momentum or force, but when you find that way and create your own path onto your right side, it will be just as easy to walk backwards on that path back onto your back with your breath being full. Sometimes the knee and elbow on one side want to get a little closer. Sometimes they open up a little further away from each other. So you might find sort of a counterbalancing that might be happening in your legs, in your arms. So go slow, go very slow. And if you never find a way to easily get on your right side, that's fine too. You might do this lesson in another month or two after trying several other lessons, and then you would come back to this lesson and voila, it's like a completely different body is accessing new movements from the other movements you've discovered in other lessons. So just lightly and easily. Every once in a while take a pause if you're trying too hard, or if you're not trying too hard, take a pause, check in. And come back. And what's it like from your back to just open your left leg to the left? The right leg to the right. And just keep opening the right leg to the right until eventually the left leg and the arms just come along. What if that left leg is just leading the movement? And everything just comes along in a puddle. Or like a slinky, when you put one part of the slinky down the stairs, that would be your right leg, and then the whole rest of the slinky just follows. Can you feel that through your spine, through your ribs? And then eventually when you find yourself comfortably on your right side, just pause there for a moment. Let your arms and elbows come all the way over to the right also. Let everything follow that initial right leg movement. And just pause there, feeling your left leg being supported by your right leg. Feeling your breathing. You might take your hands off the back of your head and just rest them for a minute. How do we really cultivate this attitude of listening, of not being violent with ourselves, with the self-talk that we've learned from years and years and years of being good people, good girls and boys, and learning to be kind and tender and sensitive and compassionate with ourselves, so that we can extend that kind and compassionate voice and being to others. And then bring your hands behind your back and just raise your left knee and leg into the air and just let your body follow. And keep taking that left knee, that left leg up and over and over and over. And you might not go all the way to your left side the first time. Don't make that a goal. Come back to the middle or come all the way back to the right. And begin to blaze a new trail, a new way onto your left side. So you found yourself in the middle of a beautiful forest, and there was a view of the mountain on one side, and if you carefully crafted the trail, you would end up on one side and you'd be able to restfully enjoy the mountain view. And now you're finding your own trail, your own way to the other side where there's a gorgeous lake and beautiful birds you've never seen before. fishing and sunning in the water. Your trail, your way from side to side will be like no one else's. No one else has your body memory, your body experience, the ways you think about movement, guide movement, enjoy movement. Until eventually you'll find yourself rolling all the way to the left and all the way to the right. And each time you get on one side, just pause for a minute and really enjoy the view from that side. Enjoy the sensations of your body having easily, effortlessly, gracefully found its way onto that side, and then effortlessly finding its way onto the other side. And maybe it gets easier and easier, so it becomes more and more playful, lighter. Your jaw can be soft, open, your tongue loose in your mouth. You're breathing full. You may even notice as you roll from side to side, what pace do you choose? Some people roll fast. They get onto their backs on the inhale and onto their other side on the exhale. Or they get onto one side on the inhale and they flip to the other side on the exhale. Some people just enjoy the journey. They may take 3 or 4 or 5 breaths from one side to the other side. So take a moment and see how long and slow can you enjoy the journey. How many breaths, how many full inhalations and exhalations can you take from one side over to the other side? Can you do it in more than one cycle of inhalation and exhalation? Can you make it 2? Can you make it 3 if 2 is easy? What's the slowest you can allow yourself to go? I remember I was a teenager and my father picked me up from school. I think he was taking me to an appointment or something, but it was Valentine's Day. So he brought me one of those great, big, huge chocolate kisses. I learned my chocoholism from my father. And I'm chewing away on it, and he says, "Allison, chocolate is to be enjoyed." So how are you enjoying this journey from one side to the other? And then at some point you might find how many times can you roll back and forth in just one breath. Can you go all the way from left to right and right to left in just one breath? Lightly, playfully, easily. And where is your attention in the movement? Is your attention on your leg that's initiating the rolling? Is it on your head and neck? Your pelvis and low back? Can you have a sense of just your whole body opening in the middle and closing on your side as your knees come together? As you're on your side, one knee opens, one elbow opens, you're completely open as you're on your back, and then you close up on your side. It's like a clam, opening and closing, expanding and contracting, just like the breath. I heard once that Moshe had a dream of having everybody on the planet rolling and sensing each other, not looking, but sensing each other and finding a natural rhythm where everybody was tuning in to one rhythm, one movement, one earthly community. And he was not like a far-out metaphysical guy. He was actually fairly scientific, but he could see the beauty in that. Next time you're on your back, just pause and rest. And just feel how you give your weight to the floor. Feel how gravity's always there. Go ahead and let your legs down, either knees bent or knees long. Gravity's never pulling any harder on you or any softer on you. It's just there. And as you become more intelligent and mindful in your movements, you could become more friendly with how you organize your body with gravity, instead of feeling like you're always fighting it by the end of the day. Because it's not gravity you're fighting with, it's your own mind, it's your own habits, it's how you think, it's how you hold yourself. It's the accumulation of all you've learned since you were a child, held in your body. So please bend your knees up and bring them over your chest. And I'm going to have you hold your knees again, but this time with your opposite hand. So your right hand will hold under your right knee, and your left hand will hold under your left knee. So they'll be crossed in front of you, crossed in your chest in front of you. There you go, holding onto your knees if you're able. If not, you can just imagine it or cross your arms over your chest. And with your arms crossed like this, just play with drawing one knee up towards your chest and letting it go, and then the other knee towards your chest. And just feel what happens in your pelvis and your low back. As you draw one knee up, can you feel that little bit of side motion that happens in your ribs? If you bring your right knee up towards your chest, you might shorten your right side just a little and lengthen your left side. As you bring your left knee up, notice this is a little more challenging. So what's happened with your breathing, your jaw? And then let your feet down, pause for a moment. Hopefully you'll remember which way your hands and arms were crossed. Because I'd like you to bring your knees up again and hold on with opposite hands, but whichever arm was crossed on top last time, cross it underneath this time. So switch the crossing. And again, play with drawing your knees towards each other. One knee with the opposite hand coming towards your chest, the other knee. Just gently. It's an unusual movement. Especially down into the pelvis. Feel what the pelvis is doing. Feel what your neck and head are doing. The focus is on the knees, the legs, the pelvis. But does your head and neck know that movement is happening? Is it softly, just gently responding in some way? Maybe your head rolls a little bit or tilts a little bit. Of course, if you're busy carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and clenching your jaw to get through it all, then you might not be feeling anything. And then again, let your legs down. Rest. Just feel for what your mind notices. So you're not looking for things to feel, but you're letting your body share its sensations with you. Whatever comes up, something might feel softer or longer or harder. You might just feel your heel on the ground, your sweater against your arm, your shoulder blades on the floor, differences from the left and right side. These neutral and somewhat pleasant sensations are the kindest way to just bring yourself into the moment, out of the worries, the stresses, all of the stories our mind runs day after day, hour after hour, quite impressively, minute after minute. It's a busy little mind. And there's so much more happening. So one last time, bend your knees and bring them over your chest. Interlace your fingers behind your head. And just playfully, lightly roll yourself onto your right side and your left side. Wouldn't it be nice if you were to awaken in the middle of the night and need to shift positions and it was this easy? Just rolling over and resting on your other side. And rolling over and resting on your other side. Now if you have a bed mate, they might be a little suspicious or disturbed. But if you're in your bed alone, if you're having a restless, sleepless night, you could just play with this. And really, when you're on your side, just start with the one leg lifting towards the ceiling and let everything else follow. That one leg is like the first ring on the slinky. It goes down and then everything else comes over, but not in one clunk. Everything just smoothly, ring by ring, slinky ring by slinky ring. It comes with it. And that big space inside the slinky, where your lungs would be, it's always full. It's always got plenty of room for your breathing, for your air. If the slinky were to tighten up, it would just be a toilet paper roll. How's that for an image? And next time you're on your back, take a full rest. And as you rest here, just ask yourself, where in my life could I use this movement? Where in my life can I move more like a slinky? Maybe getting out of the car, one leg goes out and the rest of the body can just follow. Or getting into the car. Even just putting on your shoes and your pants, and not feeling so stiff and tight. Unloading the dishwasher. Think of those rotational movements. You bend down, you sort of close down like you're on your side, and then you open up and you reach up into the upper cupboard. So I want you to take your time, roll onto your side, come to sitting, come to standing, and really notice the sensations that your body is sharing with you. You're not looking, but you're noticing. And when you're finished with this lesson and you're standing, stay in that internal space for a while, walk around a little bit, and say out loud or write down if you're at home a few of the sensations so that you can practice during the week recalling those sensations and re-inviting that level of awareness, ease of movement, and effortlessness into your life. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.